Welcome back to my channel. Today we are exploring an abandoned Cold War bunker that's been sealed away for over 50 years. It's one of the most secretive projects in history. So let's see if we can uncover some answers. The last time I visited this place, it was relatively easy to get inside. However, now the main entrance has been sealed with concrete. But luckily there is another way down. We found a small opening covered with metal bars. Looks like it's big enough to fit a person through. Let's go ahead and check it out. There are hundreds of bunkers like this scattered around the country. Most of them were built during the 1960s at the height of the Cold War. They were constructed to withstand nuclear blasts and chemical attacks. That's why they are often called nuclear bunkers. This one was built in 1961. It cost $3 million to construct. It was part of a series of defense mechanisms designed to protect Washington, D.C. from any potential Soviet attack. The plan was that the government officials would descend into these bunkers in the event of an emergency. They would be protected down here while the rest of the world got nuked. Luckily for us, that never happened. And today, these bunkers have all been abandoned and left to rot. This one was used until 1976 when it was deemed obsolete. By then, new technologies had made it less relevant. There aren't too many of these bunkers that are still accessible today. Most of them have been destroyed or heavily secured by the government, but a few have been turned into museums. This one, however, is completely off limits. When I first descended down into the bunker, I thought I was alone. But little did I know, I was being watched the entire time. I didn't realize this until I had already filmed quite a bit of footage. When I went back to look through the clips, I noticed a shadow in the corner of one of the frames. At first, I thought it was just a trick of the light. But then I slowed it down and it became very clear. There was somebody standing in the shadows watching me. I must have passed right by them without even realizing. It's amazing to think that this place has been abandoned for so long. Yet there is so much history here. All of these rooms are filled with artifacts from a bygone era. The walls are covered with maps and diagrams explaining how everything works. And in the center of it all is a giant wheel that controls the blast doors. It's incredible to imagine the level of paranoia that must have existed during the Cold War. These people were genuinely terrified that a nuclear war was imminent. They spent billions of dollars creating these bunkers and stockpiling weapons just in case. But sometimes when I explore places like this, it's hard not to feel a sense of wonder. These are incredible feats of engineering and design. They may have been built for sinister purposes, but there's something beautiful about their functionality. Every room has a purpose, and every purpose is carried out flawlessly. These bunkers are like the machines that never broke down. As I continued exploring, I came across one room that was unlike any of the others. It was completely dark and silent, and as I walked in, I realized why. The room was filled with computers. These were the most advanced computers of the time. They were used to control the bunker's various systems, such as the air filtration and the emergency power. It's amazing to think that these were cutting-edge machines at the time. Today, computers have become so small and advanced that we carry them around in our pockets. And as I continued exploring, I came across another room that was unlike any of the others. It was unlike any of the others because it was filled with red telephones. It looked like something straight out of a spy movie. The room was clearly important, but I couldn't figure out why. What were these phones used for? Who were they connected to? I decided to investigate further. I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but I picked up one of the receivers and dialed 0 hoping to get an operator. After a few rings, a voice came through on the other end. At first, it was faint and static-filled, but then it began to clear up. The voice was raspy and distorted as if it were coming from beyond the grave. "We've been waiting for you," it said. "We know you've been watching us." I quickly hung up the phone as if someone was on the other end. I wasn't sure if I wanted to talk to them. Their tone was unsettling, and it made me feel like I was being watched. I tried to dismiss it as just a strange recording, but the more I thought about it, the more uneasy I felt. Was this a prank? Had someone set up the phone to play a trick on me? Or was there really someone on the other end? I decided not to push my luck and put the receiver back on the hook. As I turned to leave the room, I noticed something that made me freeze in my tracks. One of the phones was ringing. I stared at it for a few seconds, trying to figure out if it was actually ringing. It was. I cautiously approached the phone and hesitantly picked up the receiver. The voice on the other end was the same as before, raspy and distorted. "We know you want to talk to us," it said. "We know you have questions." I took a deep breath and asked, "Who are you?" The voice chuckled, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. "We're the ones who have been watching you," it replied. "We've been watching you for a long time." I felt a surge of adrenaline and fear. Was this really happening? Was I actually talking to ghosts? The voice seemed to sense my fear, and it only grew stronger. "You shouldn't have come here," it whispered. "You shouldn't have disturbed us." I tried to stay calm, but my voice trembled as I asked, "What do you want from me?" The voice seemed to pause, as if considering its next move. "We just want to say hello," it finally replied. "We've been locked away for too long, and we're lonely." My heart pounded in my chest. I knew I should hang up the phone and run, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I was frozen in place, paralyzed by fear. "What's your name?" I finally managed to ask. The voice seemed to perk up at the question. "Our name," it said, "is the same as yours." Just then, the lights flickered and died, plunging the room into darkness. The phone slipped from my numb fingers and clattered to the floor. I scrambled for it, my hands groping in the dark. "Hello," I called out, my voice echoing in the darkness. "Is anyone there?" The only response was silence. I could hear my own breathing and the pounding of my heart. Then, as suddenly as the lights had gone out, they flickered back on. I looked up to see the phone on the wall flashing red. The screen was blank except for one line of text. "You're not alone." A chill ran down my spine. Was this a warning? Had whoever was on the other end somehow managed to hack into the system and trap me here? I tried to call out, but my voice caught in my throat. I couldn't speak. I backed away from the phone, my eyes darting around the room, searching for an escape. But the door behind me had vanished. In its place was a solid concrete wall. Panic surged through me. I slammed my fist against the wall, desperate to find a way out. But it was no use. I was trapped. Then I heard a voice behind me. It was the same raspy voice I had heard on the phone. "We're glad you could finally lock the door for us." I whirled around to face the voice, but there was no one there. The room was empty except for me and the blinking red phone. I stumbled backward, my eyes wide with terror. The last thing I saw was the phone before everything went black.